First story. OP cut ties with his family after his entitled parents' constant neglect, bullying him, favoring his golden child sister, who finally kicked him out of the house for Christmas, now stalking and harassing him for enjoying himself, and blaming him for ruining their holidays. I, 21, recently went out of contact with my family. I'm in college right now and am on track to graduate next spring. Hopefully, I'll get a job in my field in a nearby city and build my life the way I want. I went without contact with my family for several reasons, the main one being that I hated myself. Here's the context. I was not a perfect child. I'll be the first to admit that. I screwed up like a normal kid, but I tried to be better. I adored my family, especially my parents. I would do anything for them. I loved them so much. As I got older, however, it felt like that love wasn't reciprocated. My dad flat out didn't want to spend one-on-one time with me. He'd rather watch TV or spend time with my sister. When I asked him to teach me something or play a game with me, he would get visibly frustrated, and it made me feel guilty for asking. My mom was a bit different. I would ask her to do things with me, like watch a TV series or bake something I love, cookies. We'd start the process, but it would never follow through. Something would always come up, and our planned time was pushed to the side. This wouldn't bother me as much, except that my sister was raised very differently. My dad adored her and spent time with her whenever she asked. They had several mobile phone games they played together, among other things. Same with my mom. They watched several shows together and entire seasons in the span of a week. Of course, this hurt, but I just pushed my feelings down and told myself they would do something with me next time. After years of this, I became accustomed to spending entire afternoons and nights in my room, working on schoolwork or enjoying my own company. Pretty soon, I began to get in trouble for abandoning the family. I should also mention that arguments in my family were not normal, or so I've been told. They were yelling matches in which I would often stand in front of my parents and be verbally berated for hours on end. I can recall several arguments that lasted over 6 hours. During this time, anything was fair game. They didn't like my grades. They were brought up. My chores weren't completed perfectly. I was given more. My body or weight wasn't normal. I was told I would eat more or less and put on a rigorous exercise plan. I have a very fast metabolism and have never weighed more than 150 pounds. In November, it all culminated. It felt like we were having long arguments every day. At one point, very hurtful things were said. I had my college dorm at this point paid for with scholarships, but I had only stayed in it for about 2 nights. My dad was very angry and asked if I could stay at the dorms over Christmas break. I told him I didn't know, and he said it might be wise to figure that out. This hurt because it made me feel like he didn't want me home over Christmas. He said things like this often. A few days and arguments later, my parents came to the conclusion that they were going to drop me off at college and that I could sleep in my dorm instead of coming home every night. Keep in mind that my parents' house is less than 15 minutes from college, and I can't drive because of medical reasons. Basically, they were sending me to my college and forcing me to stay there until I changed my attitude and bent to their way of doing things. This was the week before Thanksgiving break. I stayed that entire week, extremely depressed and confiding in no one. I was confused as to why I was so messed up that they didn't even want to be around me, and wondering why I couldn't just act like they wanted me to. During this time, I was also able to hang out with my friends more, partly because I wanted to distract myself and partly because I had nothing else to do. They figured something was wrong, because I never had this time or permission to hang with them before, but they didn't dig too much into it. I enjoyed my new freedom so much that I decided to stay the next week too. This is when my parents started to play the victim card. I wasn't spending time with the family over Thanksgiving and was becoming selfish. We also had a Disney trip planned for the first week of Christmas break, and they asked if I was going to waste their money then too. Eventually, they started talking to me like adults, and I started to soften towards them. This was a bad idea in hindsight, but I decided to go on the trip with them after I had finished my finals. The first part of the trip went great. They were treating me with respect, and I was treating them the same way. We were laughing and having a great time. As the trip went on, their attitudes started to change. At one point, while waiting in a long line for a ride, my mom decided to have an argument. She asked why I got in a car with a random stranger while I was living in the dorm. First off, it was a taxi at the grocery store. I can't drive, and I needed to get groceries to eat. Second, why is she spying on me? Why does she need to know everything I'm doing? I'm not living under her roof at this time. It was really weird. This discussion brought up a lot of painful memories, and I shut down. It would have been really weird for a 20-year-old male to cry in line at Disney World, so I just bottled up the emotions. Now I was blamed for ruining the trip because I couldn't have a simple conversation. This situation happened for the remainder of the trip and the ride home, and I asked them to take me to the dorm when we got back. I stayed there, depressed and losing my mind. I couldn't see any of my friends because they all went home for Christmas. I spent Christmas alone and sad. This same family begged me to go to Christmas events so they wouldn't look bad, but I didn't. I eventually went home a few days after Christmas to give them their gifts and to celebrate my mom's birthday. It went about the same. The first few days went well, and then the arguments happened again. I came back to my dorm on January 2nd and have not been home since. I have been extremely depressed, but I have been building myself back up. Music is my coping mechanism. I have a severe inner critic, and the music drowns out the voices. I've told a few of my close friends about my situation, and they support me. I know I wasn't a perfect child, but I don't think the things I did warranted the intense arguments every day on top of the emotional manipulation and punishment. It still hurts. I still see them every now and then because they find ways to show up. My dad literally camped in front of my dorm window for hours just because he could. I'm trying to be better, but sometimes I wonder, AITA for cutting them off. Update. Hi everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone for your overwhelming support and kind words. It means a lot to me. I've received many questions and suggestions, so I thought I'd address some of the main points here. Consider a DNA check. Several people suggested I get a DNA check to confirm if my dad is my biological father due to the disparate treatment between my sister and me. I come from a very religious household, so if my dad wasn't my biological father, it would be something I'd know about. Additionally, I've been shown pictures of him as a kid, and there's a strong resemblance between us. So, I'm 99% confident he is my biological father. Therapy and mental health support. Many of you suggested seeking therapy to help unlearn the harmful lessons my parents taught me and to help process my feelings. I've checked with my college, and they offer free counseling services, which I plan to utilize for the remainder of the summer. Relationship with sister. To those who asked about my relationship with my sister, it's complicated. We were constantly pitted against each other and compared in every aspect, from our personalities and grades to our friends. This comparison and competition created a lot of tension and resentment between us. It wasn't just that my parents treated her better. They also used her achievements to highlight my perceived failures, which made our relationship strained. I don't talk to her either. Financial independence and security. I've taken steps to secure my financial independence. I locked down my bank account and got my first credit card to start building my credit. This is in preparation for when I need to get an apartment after graduation. I've also been asked about my current situation and how I'm supporting myself. I got my first part-time job this past semester at an escape room within walking distance of my dorm. I've learned how to run all the rooms and work the front desk, and I'm currently training to be a team manager. I love this job and my coworkers. Recently, I also got a second part-time job as a student assistant within my major's office. I plan to use my paycheck from this job for daily necessities, while saving all the income from the escape room. I'm trying to set myself up the best I can for after I graduate because I will only have myself to rely on and nobody else. Thank you again for all your support and advice. It means the world to me. This has been incredibly challenging, but I'm determined to focus on my future. I'm committed to finishing college, finding a job in my field, and building a life where I'm surrounded by people who love and respect me. I've started to build a support system with friends who feel more like family. Second story. A girl in my college falsely claimed I saw her. Everyone took her side, fired me from my leadership position, friends outcasted me, ruining my whole life, and pushed me to commit self-harm until I discovered myself and rebuilt my life again. I know a higher power will take care of her. Hi everyone. Thank you for reading in advance. I appreciate your time. A few years ago, I started at my university. Without specifying, it's a very solid state school. I chose because I got a full ride as I excelled in a club and was valedictorian. When I got to university, I immediately jumped into clubs and competitions and made a ton of friends. Besides gaining the classic freshman 15 in my first semester, life was good. I did the classic college stuff. I went to parties, met some girls, passed my tests, and loved my campus clubs. I had won a few awards and was given a leadership position in the club as a freshman. I remember calling my parents to say that I hoped I was making them proud at the end of my first semester. At a competition, we had a situation with numbers, and I adopted a member of the opposite sex into my room who I had been very close with, and we had talked for a while. I, however, was not dumb and made sure there was another person in the room with me. I thought all would be well. After the tournament, our club president called me to say there was an accusation made against me and asked for my side. I was accused of a member of the opposite sex, while the other person was in the shower. I made my arguments, and I offered every message exchanged between us, including messages from the accuser after the fact, thanking me for letting them stay and asking if they could stay in the same room after. She then got her friends to say I made them uncomfortable and that I texted them weird things. I, of course, offered every message I'd ever sent them and any other evidence. The team held a meeting to discuss whether I'd be punished. I was informed that my evidence would not be needed, nor would I be needed at that meeting. I essentially could not defend myself. I had my leadership position stripped and was barred from social functions. I quit after, as I could not keep myself together. Word spread, and I soon lost my entire friend group. I was alone. I stopped going to class, eating, or seeing sunlight. Over the span of a couple months, I would only leave my dorm if I needed food, and I gained a ton of weight. I no longer wanted to live, but didn't have the courage to do it myself. I got a 2.16 GPA that semester, something that's really inhibited my life goals. Time moved on, and I started to rebuild myself. I lost weight, and I never got anything less than an A, because studying was better than my thoughts not studying. I started gaming competitively. I graduated and landed an amazing job doing what I'm passionate about. As part of that, I am running a summer camp at my alma mater, inspiring a new generation of people passionate about the event I did. Being back here has made me realize that I am not okay. I have never been okay. I simply did not die, and thus I must keep living. I saw a therapist a few times and did not enjoy it. I am afraid they will not believe me like my friends didn't. I apologize for the length of this post, and I appreciate all of your time, even if you didn't get here. I wish you all the best. Edit. Hi everyone. This blew up a lot more than I expected. I tried to answer comments, but I can't get to them all. I do want to add some updates and answers. A. The other male was in the shower for 15 minutes. He testified that we were working before and after we got in the shower, but the supposed incident occurred during that time. B. I did not go to court or the university because I did not want this on my permanent record. If I won, then I'd only get to be around people who were friends with that girl. If nothing happened, then it would be on my record forever. She never went to the police or the university. I do not know why she said it. We never touched. We were just working on our stuff for the club competition. I wish I knew. I also want to add how truly sorry I am for the hundreds of comments with similar stories. I wish we lived in a world where we always knew the truth. Every abuser was put to death, and everyone who made false accusations got substantial time. Thank you to everyone who said I have impacted them. I want you to know how much it means to me that my life can do something good for you. I wish all of you nothing but the best. Also, another Redditor suggested I add this. I had one friend who stayed by my side through all this. We began dating about a year later, and we just celebrated 3 years last month. I believe she will be it, and I know she'll always have my back. Plus, she's really cute. I know I didn't hit every detail, and please feel free to ask questions. I will do my best to answer everything. Relevant comments. Lebo Jr. I won't comment on whether I believe you or not, as I think none of us who've read this know anything more than what we did before we read it, except to say you feel you were wrongly accused. What I will say is that going to a therapist is not something you should or shouldn't enjoy. They are there to help you deal with your own feelings and get on with life. The therapist won't be making any assessments on whether you are guilty or not of SA, as that is not their job. Their job is to have you face reality and get on. I think this can be extremely helpful for you. At the very least, if you did not do this as you say, you can learn to move on and put the accusations behind you. If you are guilty, it will help you face that as well. Either way, you get to move on and get the destructive feelings out of the way. Don't let others in this thread fool you. They don't know the truth. You and the girl who accused you know, and that may forever be the only two. You do need to get on with life and learn from it. Believe it or not, I wish you well either way. OP. There are only two people in the world who know the truth firsthand, me and her. I try to take solace in the fact that I know I didn't do it. I also believe in a high power, and one day she will answer that. It's okay if you don't believe me. I do try to offer it to everyone. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Third story. My high school bully brutally abused me. forced me to fail subjects, got me expelled, and sent me to jail under false accusations with the support of his rich parents and entitled teachers. Now, he is forcing me to commit self-harm. Please help me. I was in 9th grade when James transferred over to our high school. He had rich parents. He was a star football player and wrestler, and he was in the top 10% of academics in the entire state. I came from a not-so-good background. My mother died in a car crash when I was 3 years old, and my father became a drug and alcohol addict. I never let this discourage me, and I did pretty well in school. I kept my GPA at 3.7, and I was striving to be a police officer and help the community. That is, until James showed up. I don't know what he saw in me, but there was something in me that sparked him. Something about me just turned him into the worst human being I have ever encountered in my life. The first encounter I had with him was in the hallway before first period. He was walking with his group, blocking the entire hallway, and when I came in front of him, he asked, "Do you want us to move?" And all I said was, "If you don't mind, because I have to get to biology." He seemed cool and did a little move where he kind of opened the gate of people. But as I went past him, he took my head like a basketball and slammed it into a locker. "You move for me. It's not the other way around. Got it, you little piece of SHT." And then let go and walked off, laughing with his little group. Now, I don't know exactly what would have happened had I not told the principal, and I don't know if he would have let me off the hook had I not tried to get him into trouble, but I did. Now, mind you, this was before cameras were a thing in school, and everything was more laid back in terms of bullying. I told the principal about what happened, and he called us both in there. James, of course, acted astonished that anyone would ever make up a lie like this, and all his little buddies attested that this never happened. I ended up getting in trouble for making things up and trying to get the new student in school a bad rap. I got detention, but that was nothing compared to what was about to happen throughout my high school career. The real bullying started when James caught me using a urinal in the bathroom. I had put my backpack down and started peeing, and all of a sudden I heard, "No effing way." James then grabs me by the back of my shirt, slams me up against the urinal wall, and then drags me into the stall, where he proceeds to shove my head in the toilet while saying, "Was this worth being a tattletale?" After shoving my head in the toilet, he took my books from my backpack and tore a number of pages out of each one, broke all my pencils, and pissed on my backpack. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, but it sure as hell wasn't the last. Here are some of the events just from 9th grade. Every lunch period, he would ask me for my tray. If I didn't give it to him, he and his friends would take turns spitting in it. I quickly learned that if he wanted my lunch, I should just give it to him, because if I said no, I wasn't eating anyway. Anytime there was an opportunity for a beating, he took it. On multiple occasions, he has been waiting at the bathroom door, and when I walk by, he grabs me and pulls me in. Then he and his friends punch and kick me, piss on me, or shove my head into the toilet. Sometimes they even piss in the toilet before they do it. He's pulled me into the locker room, then threw me in the shower, and dumped my backpack out under the running water with me. I stole my homework, and then ripped it to shreds for no reason at all. He held me down and spray painted my hair pink. I rode my bike home from school because my father never bothered or remembered to pick me up, and I hated the bus, so I never signed up. James found this out, and he and his friends would chase me down on their bikes. If they caught me, they would usually throw me in the river or a dumpster behind a restaurant, depending on where they caught me. I had a girl befriend me and get me to hang out after school, only to be met by James. They poured a gallon of paint into my backpack, then shoved my head into it, and kicked me around a little bit. Then let's laugh. I went to the gas station one day after school to get a fountain pop. James caught me and smashed my drink into my face. I got caught at the park with my best friend. They held him down and made him watch me get kicked around, and then I got dirt shoved into my mouth. I took my backpack and threw it in the little stream. I told my friend to beat my arse, or he was going to get the same treatment. He stomped on me a couple times, and then they left together. He joined in on some of the bullying after that. Terrible verbal abuse. Constant reminder of how much of a piece of SHT I was. How my mother probably died on purpose to get away from me. How my father is a lowlife just to deal with me. And how the only way to get out of James' life is to kill myself. My academic performance suffered greatly. I went from a 3.7 to a 2.3 GPA in 1 year. My physical and mental health were rapidly declining. I ended up signing up for the bus just so I didn't get caught outside. And once I got home, I didn't leave. There were rare occasions where I would leave and everything would be fine. But there were more occasions where I would leave and end up getting caught. The summer after 9th grade was a relief. James left for vacation. I could finally go outside and do things. I had no friends. But that was okay because I was finally able to let my guard down. But school came around way too fast. Now 10th grade rolls around, and it's back to the old days of constant beatings and punishments. Until a couple months in, I had had enough. I ran into James again, and he grabbed me. I told him to meet me in the park after school, and I would fight him. But if I won, he had to leave me alone. His face seemed that of someone's first cocaine experience. His eyes glowed, and he had so much joy in his face that it was scary. He said, "Deal. But if you don't show up, I will make your life a living hell." Well, more than it already is, you piece of nothing. I was dreading it all day. I didn't know exactly how bad it was going to be, but I didn't think it was going to be good. School ends, and James actually escorts me over to the park. The whole time, he was just staring at me and saying SHT, like, "I've been waiting for this moment from the day I met your pathetic, worthless body." Or, "I don't think you understand what is exactly going to happen to you. Do you?" Or, "Your mother is going to look down on you after this because you are so effing worthless and pathetic." Now, what I left out for this moment is actually our physical specifications. James stands at 6 feet, 2 inches tall, weighing about 240 pounds of pure effing muscle. He was one of the biggest kids in our class. State wrestling champ. Star football player. He had weight training every day as part of his elective class. And of course he is one of the top 5 weightlifters to ever take that class, and got a plaque for benching 285. I stand at 5 feet, 7 inches, weighing 140 pounds. I have never done anything physical in my life, and I have never lifted weights in my life. After what feels like a lifetime, we get to the park, and a circle of people forms around us. He gives me this little smirk, and then proceeds to start walking toward me with his hands up in a fighting stance. He yells at me to throw the first punch, and I swing, and I missed. He leaned out of the punch, grabbed me from the back, and proceeded to suplex me on the ground. He gets up and makes me stand up again. But that slam was one of the hardest blows I have ever taken in my life. And I don't know what my next move is, but I stand up. I know I can't just give up like that. After I stood up, nothing got better. He picked me up in what they call a fireman carry, and slammed me down hard as F again. Only this time he starts punching me in the head. It only took 2 good shots, and I was out. I don't remember what happened after that, but I woke up with nobody around me, and I had dried blood from my nose all over me. My head was pounding, and my body felt like I had been hit by a car. After that, nothing got better. It was the same routine of bullying as in 9th grade. By 11th grade, my GPA was 1.3, and I had given up on life. James actually made it easier for me by planting marijuana in my backpack and telling the principal I had it. I was given a choice: either drop out or go to a juvenile school. I chose to drop out. I was then charged with bringing a Schedule I narcotic onto school grounds. I spent a week in jail, and then I was on probation for a year and had to do 40 hours of community service, along with a drug addiction program. You'd think dropping out of high school would have made James leave me alone. He had won. What more did he want? It was obviously something, but I didn't know what it was. He would catch me out occasionally, beat my arse, and throw me in a dumpster or river. When 12th grade rolled around, he got a little more crazy, knowing that he had to go off to college eventually. Whenever he would catch me out, he would grab me, take all my SHT, shove me in the trunk of his car, take me miles away from my home, beat me, and then force me to walk back. This happened about 4 times. I had a job for about a week, until I learned that it wasn't worth it. He would catch me riding my bike or walking home after work and do the same SHT. I ended up quitting when I was thrown in a dumpster for the 5th day in a row. James got to graduate with a football scholarship and a 3.88 GPA. He then proceeded to graduate from Dartmouth College and now owns a branch of his father's business. And he is rich as F. Me? I'm stuck in the same town, working at the local McDonald's and addicted to heroin. I was supposed to be something in life, but in James' words, he got to do it for me because he was more worthy. He's sent me Facebook messages asking when I'm going to rehab, or if I'm just going to end up killing myself. I am so glad we are taking bullying a lot better than we used to. I don't want anyone to ever go through what I went through, and I hope one day to get help and get my life back on track. I don't hate James individually. I hate the system that lets him get away with it. Relevant comments. Gato-chan. Do you know anyone who has witnessed these events and would back you up in court? Have you ever considered speaking to a lawyer about bringing a case against him? I would imagine that he tormented many other people as well. Maybe other people were tortured by this scumbag, and you aren't alone. I wish you the best, and I know you can overcome. Don't let the past hold you back. You deserve so much more, and you will have it. OP. The only ones to witness the events were his friends. He was very popular, and they always had his back whenever anyone would question him. Honestly, I have never seen him bully anyone else. My theory is that he picks one student and just harasses them, making their life hell. I've always wondered who it was when he was in middle school. Back again 18. I didn't become well known in high school. Not until my senior year, only because I was dating the popular girl. I used to hide in the school restroom during lunch period just to avoid going because it was pretty rowdy, and I only had like 1 or 2 friends during lunchtime. It was brave of you to stand up to him. But you were outmatched physically. There was nothing you could do. Just move on from this. It was awful that he held your progress back, but you can't dwell on the past. It'll only affect your future. OP. I'm on the road to getting better, but I think the non-progress stemmed from having no support and losing the job of my dreams. Being a police officer was something I just felt was in my blood, but the mental health issues that came out of being bullied for 4 years straight make me feel like I would just turn into the bully, and I can't do that to anybody. In response to a now deleted comment. Because there would be little to gain. He is very successful, and I'm sure he could throw some type of money around to sue me for something. I mean, it's America. It would just make his day to drive me into an even harder place. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.